videos here in Zhujiajiao. You know, I just did a video in French and I thought I should do this one in English for our English speaking folks. And it wasn't about much, but this is about something I've been thinking about doing for a long time without really getting around to do it. Partially because it's been very cold out here and I couldn't easily go for a walk. Now, what I wanted to talk about was about an experience which I had once upon a time, if my memory is correct, in 1991 in Birmingham on my way to my dormitory. And at the time, I was practicing Tai Chi, which was relatively, in some ways, I should say, new to me. I've been practicing the martial arts for a long time, but Tai Chi itself was relatively new. And so, what happened was that my teacher had advised all of us, the males, to count our steps as we walked in order to avoid distractions. You know, the way she put it was try to avoid looking at the girls, thinking about them. And in order to keep your mind focused, you had to count. So I tried to be a good student, and at the time, I remember walking around, counting my steps, going like one, two, three, one, two, three. So I had a part-time job at the time at Birmingham University, and after finishing my job and going home, on my way home to the dormitory, I remember counting those steps, and just about 2 minutes prior to arriving at my dormitory, all of a sudden, the world transformed itself before my eyes. So I could still see the same buildings. I could still see people, you know, normally. I, in fact, the world was still the world, but the world was not the world. The reason being that when I raised my arm to look at it, I could see through my arm. I looked at the ground, I could see through. I looked at the buildings, I could see through. But the buildings were there, my arm was there, my body was there, the ground was there, everything was still there. The difference was that while I was looking at any of these, I could see two vortices, one behind, one in front. And out of one of the vortices was pouring out a lot of tiny particles, a little bit like flying powder. It wasn't powder, but the nearest description I can give is like flying powder. And these particles flew out into everything which had a form. And it was a continuous flow, non-stop, you know? So I was looking at all of this. So the particles were flowing into things and giving them that shape, that structure. And then at the same time, the particles were flying out of things from the other side. So I was witnessing the live construction of everything that was. I was seeing how everything is made live in front of me. And of course, for a moment, I was just totally stunned. You know? And I stopped to observe. And while I was observing, I could see that the arm which I had 1 minute ago was not the arm which was here now. I could see the arm being deconstructed in real time and being reconstructed and non-stop. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I thought at first that everyone was seeing exactly the same thing I was seeing. I thought something had changed in the world and that it changed for everyone. It's just like when the night comes, it comes for everyone. So you see that something changed, it's not daytime. So this happened in an instant, like in a twinkling of an eye, and it was like that. And after looking left, looking around, looking at everything, I talked to some people I saw. There were about 3 or 4 people to my left, about 50 meters in front of me. And I said, hey, look, everything's changing or everything's moving. I can't remember exactly what I said, but then they answered me, yes, we have exams coming up tomorrow. And when they said that, I understood that, it wasn't everyone seeing exactly the same things I was seeing. And that caught me by surprise also. And so I started to wonder what was happening to me. And as I did, when I started thinking, all of that just vanished the same way it had started. And those particles disappeared. Everything went back to normal. I could see the forms just as they were before, solid, and so on. And so I continued walking, walked to my dormitory, went inside, and then tried to repeat the process by counting those steps again in my dormitory. And that wasn't successful. I couldn't make it happen again at that time. So later I took the phone, called my Taiji teacher, told her about what had happened, and she explained to me what that was, which I might not explain here right now. I think about the best way to explain this. But she told me, had you not started thinking, all of that would have stayed longer, maybe permanently. So I felt a little bit disappointed at the time that it hadn't stayed, and I tried to make it start again. But I couldn't. I failed. So that event happened, and it reminded me of what I had read before. We are told that when we observe particles, these particles tend to behave in the manner in which we expect them to behave, but that once we stop observing them, the particles will behave differently. You so basically, that was a story I wanted to share with you guys today. Um, I have been teaching Taiji Chuan to my students for many years and explained many things to them. They have had a whole host of experiences, and these videos are essentially meant for them to help to explain certain phenomena, certain experiences which they might have. And for those who do not practice Taiji, this story might make no sense whatsoever, and it mightn't mean anything. But for those who have practiced Taiji Chuan, who have practiced the art of Qigong, they will understand exactly what I mean by this story. So, and for those people, I hope it encourages you, and that if these sorts of things happen to you, you're not surprised at all by what happens. So, it's been decades now since I left the UK and traveled to several countries where I founded several Taiji associations. And today I am in China, where many years ago I went on to study Chinese traditional medicine. And for the simple reason that it is related to Taiji, the practice of Taiji itself. And so, for those who may have questions to ask about what I just said here, you may feel free, and I will do the best I can to answer your questions. For my students, you could write to me directly, and I would be very willing to provide you further details about what I am trying to get you to understand. So here we are in China, in Zhujiajiao, and I finished work a little bit earlier today and just walking around my neighborhood, I decided to share these with you. So previously I did this video in French for those in Cameroon and the other French speaking countries, and decided to do it in English also for those who do not understand French but can understand English. And from time to time, I would try to put up some of these stories, events which happened to me during the practice, which might be useful to those along the path who have no one to guide them, or who do have someone to guide them but who do not fully understand what happened to them. So that's the practice of Tai Chi, and I was going to emphasize that if you are one of those who have chosen to embark on this journey of practicing Tai Chi, meditation, or Qigong, you have to remember a few things, or you have a few things to keep in mind. And the first one is to not try too hard. That the practice of Tai Chi is pretty much like meditation, but meditation in movement. And what you have to do is relax your whole body, relax your mind, kind of play with it. Don't take it too seriously. Just relax and flow. Slow it down, and eventually you will be able to feel the energy flow. And when you focus on the energy flow, it takes you deeper in. And as you go deeper in, all these phenomena I'm mentioning in these stories will start to happen to you. When they do happen, do not panic, but do not be distracted. Pay attention to them, be present, remain present with them until they stop. And if you do have a Tai Chi teacher, talk to them about what happened so they can guide you. If you do not, I am very willing to help. So if you come here with questions at any time, I'll be more than willing to help answer your questions as to what the phenomena you may be experiencing could mean for you. And so, like I said, to some, these stories might mean nothing, and to others, they might mean everything. So, it's a little bit cold out here today. The sun is setting. It's about 5:30 in the evening, and I will be heading back to practice a little bit of acupuncture on my own self, just to rebalance my system. For those who do not know where I am in China, in Shanghai more precisely, and I have been here for the past 20 something years, where my kids were born. And having been here this long, having learned what I had to learn, I think it's getting about time to return home and to combine the knowledge I acquired here with what we already have and help to make a better life for our own people. So I might be talking here about acupuncture, acupuncture points, qigong, massage, Chinese medicine, African medicine, I plan to just freely talk about, you know, whatever I feel might be useful to both my students and friends. And basically, that will be it. Well, China is a very beautiful place. It's a beautiful country, and it's really one of the places where I felt very free in my life. Like little to no constraints whatsoever. Contrary to what many people might be led to believe, this is really, really a great country. Every country has its faults, has its ups and downs. But in all the years, the decades I've lived in this country, I have never felt threatened by anyone, not by individuals, not by the police, not by anything. And I can't say that of many places I have been to in the world. No need to call any names, but it's something I believe my people have to learn from, and many people do have to learn from. So all of this is true. Um, you can walk freely on the streets here at any hour in the night, male or female, and nothing's gonna happen to you. You can drop your mobile phone here, and someone's probably gonna find you to hand it back to you. But if nobody does, and you go to the police and ask, they will find it very easily for you. It wasn't always like this. When I first arrived here in the early 2000s, it was a little bit different. And since then, things have changed enormously. And I am glad I have been here to witness this change in China. So I wish this country great success. And yeah, I have to say I owe quite some, owe a lot to this country. So a big thank you to China for what it has to offer. And my kids are growing up now, and my intention was for them to pick up some aspects of Chinese culture which they could blend in with ours to create something new. See if we can improve on anything, compared to the past. And I think that has been quite successful. Most of the same knowledge I have has been transferred to my children, and they have also acquired some knowledge which was not directly transmitted by myself, and they even can do things which I cannot do. And there's nothing that makes a parent more proud than to know that your children are better in some ways than yourself. So that's it for today. And for those who watched this video who found something useful in it, I say thank you for having come here and watched it. For those who didn't find what they wanted in it, my apologies. If you really wish me to show you or talk about something which you like here in China, in Shanghai, you may mention it, and I could find time to show this to you while I am discussing one of my topics here on YouTube. So thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.